Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for getting on tonight. We're super excited to be doing our Next Generation Plexus Teach Tuesdays. We started these because we know that everyone on our team has so much to offer and so much to teach everyone, excuse me, and that we can all learn from each other. So, excuse me, guys. Keeping it real here. I need some water, but I don't have any in front of me. So, like I said, thanks again for tuning in. You being here definitely shows your dedication to your business. And that means a whole lot for everyone on our team as well as for you and your personal business. So tonight we're going to be talking about customer relationships and follow-up with our very own Anna Miner. We're super excited for her to be sharing tonight. So she's a soon-to-be Silver Ambassador, and she has so much to share with us because she is really great at being personal with her customers and her potentials. So she's going to share some tips with us about that, and we're going to go ahead and just jump right into that. So Anna, you can go ahead and share what you have for us tonight.
Okay, hi guys. I'm glad that you guys could be a part of this tonight. So just a few pointers. For me, the biggest thing about being personal and actually communicating with potentials and keeping consistency is basically prioritizing and utilizing about 5 to 15 minutes a day. You know, it's not that hard to do your 5-3-1s. That's my biggest thing. I like to kind of set a bigger goal than just the 5-3-1 for myself. I like to make 15, probably 10, and then 4 posts each day. See if I can actually make it out to that. Another part that I think is very important is breaking a comfort zone. So for me personally, I make a goal for myself to kind of break a comfort zone at least once every single day. Try to get myself out there because before I used to be an introvert. So, you know, communicating, being social was a very low portion of my personality and myself. But now I've learned to kind of just be outgoing, go out there, you know, kind of push myself to actually be social with everybody because there's no harm in that. I mean, it's definitely still kind of hard. Every once in a while, I like to dedicate most times to just myself, kind of being an introvert and everything, excuse me. But another thing is being positive, being personal, kind of connecting, you know, building a relationship, even though you don't have a relationship with a potential. You know, it's not very hard. If you're scrolling through Facebook, you're going to see their posts, you're going to see their pictures, you're going to see their personal statuses about what they're actually going through. You know, it's not hard to just be like, hey, how are you? You know, I see that you have this going on in your life, you know, what's going on, kind of just reach out to them, see if you can help them in any way. And eventually, over time, you're going to build that relationship to where they're going to be interested in what's going on in your life. They're going to ask you about what's actually going on, how you're growing. They're going to notice the positivity, the change in yourself and your personality. And they're going to be interested in just be like, hey, I'm going to need that type of personality in my life. I need your positivity. I need you to help me through this type of negativity that I have going on. You know, what can you help me with? Another thing that I like to tell myself every single day is to avoid asking questions about what do you think you could benefit from Plexus, or, you know, saying, now let me tell you why you need Plexus. Let them decide how they're going to benefit from Plexus based off of what you're telling them. Find a connection off of how they can connect, whether you're actually being persistent or not. That's my biggest thing. Don't be persistent, but be informative. Let them know, hey, this is how it's helped me, you know? And then they're going to go in their mind and just be like, hey, so I have this going on. Maybe that can help me too with what I have going on in my life. But basically just reaching out, staying consistent. That's the biggest thing. And that's pretty much it for me. And you can go ahead and say whatever you need to say.
Thank you, Anna. I love what you shared. And I really wanted to have her share tonight just because I notice when I see her talking to her customers and her potentials on social media, they have genuine conversations. They're actually close to each other, and so that tells me that she's a good person to be sharing about that, because you want to have relationships with your customers and your potentials outside of Plexus. Obviously, this whole thing that we do, our whole business, is based around relationships. It's relationship marketing. So if you don't have a relationship with someone outside of your business and what you do with Plexus, then it's not going to be long-term for them to feel connected to you. And that in turn is going to mean it's not long-term for them to be on their products or for them to feel like they can come to you when they have issues with their products. And in that case, sometimes that leads to people being like, oh, like it didn't work for me. And they don't ever express to you what they're going through, what they're dealing with their products. Maybe they're having die-off or, you know, whatever it might be. Whereas if you had that relationship with them and they felt that they could come to you, it would be a different story. So thanks so much, Anna, for sharing. I really appreciate you being on tonight and sharing with us. I'm so proud of you, and I know that you're going to be silver in no time, and we're so excited for you. So I also wanted to share some tips with you guys about follow-up and some of the organization methods that you can use to keep up with your follow-up, as well as like just some of my tips and why follow-up is so important. So I shared some of this last week as well with our guest speaker who was on, Senior Ruby Ambassador Alex, but some of it is different as well. So first of all, I just want to start off with saying that if you're not doing your follow-up, then you're like completely missing the magic of your business, and that's not good. Like, the magic and where your business really happens. I know you guys have heard the saying, the fortune is in the follow-up, and like if you don't do your follow-up, like you are totally missing out on so much that you could be benefiting from and that your business could be growing from. So 80% of your friends that are going to sign up with you either as a customer and eventually as an ambassador are going to do that after you have talked to them 5 to 12 times about Plexus. And that means like you specifically had a conversation with them about Plexus, or they had exposure to Plexus, but that isn't even considering the conversations that you should be having with them outside of that. Because if you're building a relationship with them, like every time you follow up with them, it's not going to be about Plexus. So you have to keep that in mind. But just know it takes 5 to 12 times for most people. Very rarely are you going to, you know, talk to someone on social media or maybe someone that you know in real life and they're going to be like, oh yeah, like I'm ready to sign up right away. Sometimes that happens, but that is not the case most of the time. In fact, most people will tell you no, or they'll tell you they're not interested right now for a few times before they're actually ready to hear and listen, and then you still have to be the person to continue giving them the information, and that's just how it goes. So follow-up is really, really important. So because it takes those 5 to 12 conversations specifically about Plexus, or 5 to 12 exposures, that means you need to be following up with people consistently, and you have to do it a lot. So like I said, you don't want to blow up your potentials inbox with like, hey, like, are you ready yet? Like 5 to 12 times, like just so you get it out there. You have to like talk to them personally as well, but just know that's what it's going to take, and that means you need to be talking to them frequently. And how you follow up with them is really going to depend on what your relationship with them is right now, like where you guys stand. So if you're close with someone, like your follow-ups with them that are specifically Plexus related can be really direct. Like if one of my best friends, I mean, all of my best friends are my potentials because I want them on my team and I want them in Maui with me, but I talk to them all the time about non-Plexus stuff, of course. But when I do talk to them about Plexus, it's not like how I talk to someone who that I'm not really close with. I'm like, hey, like, you know, you could like be going to Maui with me, you know, I want you to do this with me. It's really direct. Whereas if you're like kind of in between with someone, or they're an acquaintance, or that you just know them on social media, like your reach out to them and your follow up with them about Plexus specifically is going to be less direct. But for a refresher on that, you guys can, I'm not going to like go into it tonight, just because if you guys want more information about that, you can go rewatch our new ambassador orientation where we talk about that for a refresher on that. But now I'm going to kind of talk about like how you can keep track of following up with people. Because like I said, if you are going to give people 5 to 12 exposures of Plexus, then you have to have like a plan to keep up with all of those people, because it's not like 5 to 12 exposures for one person. You have tons of potentials and people around you that you're talking to all the time. So you should have a plan of action of how you're going to do that. So I'm going to share with you guys some tips on organizing that. So there's a couple of different ones, and this is some of the stuff that I also shared last week, but I think it's really important, so I'm going to share with you guys again. There's a couple of different ways that I like to tell my team about following up. So if you're like a hands-on person, you would want to do something that's like pen and paper. If you are someone who like is really tech savvy, you might want to do something on your computer or your phone. So the options I wanted to tell you guys about tonight to keep up with all of that is if you want to do pen and paper, you can easily like make a table on Microsoft Word where it has a name section, where you met them or how you know them, and then like a comment section and the date that you last talked to them. That's super easy. If you're a pen and paper person, like print it out and just, keep it like that. I've done that and I really liked it because I'm kind of in between. You can do what's called the tickler file, which is like an index card box where you have index cards that are divided by all of the days of the month. So you can put cards for potentials with all those same kind of categories in the different days of the month so that you can know. So if it's behind number 3, that means on the 3rd of the month, like those are the people that you follow up with, and you can move them around. And that's like a really physical way. And I really like that idea too. And there's a video on that by Emily Roberts on YouTube. So if you want to like know more about it, you can look there. And then the third option is what I do. This is my favorite. So just like I was telling you guys, you can make like the chart on Microsoft Office or Microsoft Word. I like actually just keep it on there and I type stuff in because I always have my computer with me because I'm a student and, I have other stuff to do on my computer. So it's just the easiest for me. And I'm kind of tech savvy. I like to think that about myself, but with that, I also like color coordinate them. So I color coordinate people red if they tell me no, but I obviously am not going to delete them off my list because tons of people who are on my team told me no before. So that doesn't mean a whole lot to me besides the fact that red means don't like directly reach out to them and be like, hey, like, so are you ready yet? Because I have to remember like they did tell me no, so I have to proceed with caution basically. I'll highlight them yellow if they're someone who like I think they're interested. They told me they have interest, but they're not like there yet and they're kind of on the fence. And then I highlight people green who are like my leads. Those are the people that when I go through my list to find people to follow up with, like I look for green first because I'm like, okay, these are the people who are almost there. They told me yes, they want to get started, but they're just waiting on a paycheck or they're just waiting on whatever it might be. So I know when I'm going through, it makes it really easy for me. And then the fourth way, which I've also used this, I use this pretty much all through the summer and up until I started using the chart again. But there's this app called Customer Keeper, which is kind of like the same concept of all the other ones, but it's just on your phone. So there's actually an option for you to create categories. So you can create a category for customers, you can create a category for potentials, you can create a category for your team so that when you're like keeping track of your leaders and how they're doing and stuff, you can keep track of that, which I thought was really cool. And you can also set reminders. So say someone tells you like, okay, I get paid on the 15th, you can set a reminder so it'll pop up on your phone like, okay, it's the 15th and you need to follow up with them because they said they'd be ready today, which is really, really nice if you're like super busy and you have trouble keeping up with follow-up. So those are all the different ways that you can keep up with it. But again, I just want to reiterate tonight that the thing, no matter how you keep up with your follow-up, like the most important thing is that you're doing it and that you keep up with it somehow. If it's a different way than like what I just suggested, like that's awesome. Do whatever works for you, but you have to do it. If you're not following up with people and you don't have a system for keeping up with like the tons of potentials that you're going to come in contact with and you're going to want to keep up with, then you're setting yourself up for failure. If you don't have any way to remember that, like Susie said she's going to be ready on like July 15th or something, like, you're not going to remember. Don't leave it to chance that you're just going to remember, because you're probably not. So that's why having a system is so important, and just doing the follow-up is important. So that's all I wanted to share tonight, and thank you again, Anna, so much for sharing. If you guys have any questions for us about follow-up, definitely let us know. And before we end tonight, I did want to announce our Tuesday Spotlight this week. This is someone who's recently recommitted to her business, and I'm super excited for her. And she's not on right now, but I'm so excited and so proud for her. And she just made a big move, and she's had a lot going on, but she's recommitting to her business. And so we're all really proud of her and proud to have her as our Tuesday Spotlight today. So make sure after I announce her right now, you guys go check the team page, because I'm going to post about it and make sure she's recognized. So make sure you go congratulate her. Today, our Tuesday Spotlight is Jessica Ortega, so yay for Jessica. And not only is she jumping back into her business, but she's also helping our team with so much stuff already, with event pages and all that kind of stuff. So we're really thankful for her, and for her, jumping back in and being a leader on our team. So go give her a shout out once I post that on the team page. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great night, and thank you guys so much for being on tonight. We'll be here again next week at 9:15 Eastern time on Tuesday. So love you guys. Have an awesome Tuesday night, and we'll talk soon on Facebook, I'm sure. Bye, guys.